Well, you have landed right back here at Ritualistically Botanica. If you're new here, my name is Mo, and I'm your host. Come and take a deep dive with me, and let me warn you ahead of time, this is a long one. So, you're warned. If you want to know who I am, you want to know more about me, read the description, or you can follow me or subscribe to my Substack, and you can find a whole lot more about me there. One of the things I've been doing lately is going backward. In order to understand where we are going forward, I started looking backward. And I've been digging through old science fiction, metaphysical writing, astrology, tarot, the old science of thought writers, and books from the 19th and early 20th centuries, where people were already asking questions about machines, consciousness, invisible forces, language, and the nature of reality. And that eventually brings us straight into artificial intelligence, because AI did not suddenly just drop out of the sky in 2022. What happened in 2022 was that ordinary people suddenly got access to it. The thinking that led here is much older. And today I want to talk about a document called AI 2027. First, I need to make something clear. AI 2027 is not prophecy. The authors themselves don't claim it is. It is a scenario. They asked, if artificial intelligence continues developing rapidly and AI becomes capable of helping humans build better AI, where could that lead us? I have read their work through my own filters, experience, concerns, and prejudices. That would be the AI 2027 report. And others. You need to do exactly the same thing. Read it yourself. Don't take my word for it. Now, before we go further, let me explain something, because we throw words around like everybody went to computer science school. What is the difference between ChatGPT and an AI agent? Well, the ChatGPT most of us first encountered works something like this. I ask a question, it answers. I ask another question, it answers again. An agent is different. Instead of giving it one question, you give it a job. So you can tell it, research this subject, find the sources, compare them, figure out what is missing, use the available tools, check the work, come back with the results. The agent can decide which intermediate steps it needs to take without you directing every single move. That is an enormous change. And then imagine, give an AI agent this job, help us build a better AI. That is the hinge in AI 2027. And since we're throwing around another word constantly, what the hell is an algorithm? An algorithm is basically a procedure. It's a recipe, a set of steps for getting from an input to an outcome. So your GPS uses algorithms to determine a route. YouTube uses recommendation algorithms to decide which videos it thinks somebody might want to watch. And when I tell you to replay this video 10 times, because apparently repetition helps my relationship with the YouTube gods, what we're really talking about is a system looking at signals and trying to predict what people want to watch. So modern AI still uses algorithm. It still uses computer code, lots of it. What changed is that programmers are no longer sitting there writing, if Mo asks this question, give Mo this sentence. Instead, humans write the architecture and training systems, feed enormous amounts of information through them, and training algorithms adjust billions of mathematical values called parameters or weights. The resulting model learns patterns. And now AI itself can write code. So humans are writing code that builds machines that can write more code and increasingly help improve the system themselves. Isn't that a wonderful world? That is where this starts getting interesting, though. Listen, AI 2027 imagines that AI eventually becomes so useful in AI research that technological progress begins accelerating. Better AI helps create better AI. That better AI helps create the next one faster. And suddenly the speed of development isn't determined entirely by how quickly human researchers can work. Now we are not at the full-blown version of that scenario yet, but we are already using AI inside research software development, testing, and other parts of AI development. Think about that. So this is no longer simply, what if someday AI helps build AI? That ship sailed. We are already somewhere along that road. The question is how far it goes and how quickly. And this is where people reasonably ask, if AI is becoming this capable, where is the massive unemployment? Why haven't all the jobs disappeared? Because technological change doesn't usually happen like somebody flips a switch. First, it replaces tasks. Then jobs change, hiring changes. Some occupations shrink, other jobs appear. And we keep hearing the same reassuring phrase, people will simply retrain. I've heard that one before. Sometimes it's true. Remember back in 2008? When everybody retrained, went into debt for more education, and then couldn't find a job? But AI creates a peculiar problem. What happens when the machine learns the job you retrained for? See, today someone can say, well, AI can't be a plumber. Correct. Today it can't. But AI is developing alongside robotics. If increasingly capable artificial intelligence eventually operates increasingly capable physical machines, then the distinction between intellectual labor and physical labor begins to weaken too. I'm not telling you a robot is coming for your toilet next Thursday, okay? I'm telling you not to assume that physical work is permanently outside this conversation. And this leads to what I think is the biggest question. Not will AI create wealth? It almost certainly will. The question is, who gets the wealth? Who owns the models? Who owns the data centers? Who owns the chips? Who owns the robots? Who owns the patents? Who receives the productivity gains? If machines eventually perform enormous amounts of labor that humans once performed, there could be extraordinary abundance. But abundance and distribution are two completely different things. Elon Musk has talked about some form of universal high income in a world where AI and robotics create massive productivity. Maybe. But the technology doesn't decide who receives the money. People do. Governments do. Corporations do. Ownership structures do. Policy does. So the question isn't, will there be a golden age? There certainly will be. The question is, who gets to live in it? And this is exactly where my astrology intersects with the conversation. I've talked elsewhere about Andre Barbault and his cyclical index, what I call the Barbault basket, and this extraordinary historical period suggested by the outer planets. There's enormous potential here. Technology, scientific breakthroughs, new systems, new forms of abundance. But I keep seeing another question underneath it. Chiron in Taurus, value, resources, security, who owns what? Who has enough? Who gets left outside? You can have a golden age and still have people who cannot afford to enter it. So whenever someone tells me AI may create unimaginable abundance, my first question is, for whom? Meanwhile, governments understand exactly how consequential this could become. The United States is treating advanced AI as a national security issue. China is treating it as strategically important. Companies are racing one another. Countries are racing one another. And that competitive pressure matters because nobody wants to be the person who slows down only to discover the other side kept going. Which brings me to something that happened after the document AI 2027 was printed. The same group has now published AI 2040, Plan A. Now their proposal is essentially slow down the race towards superintelligence, give humanity more time. They propose trying to delay superintelligence until around 2040 through international cooperation, particularly between the United States and China. Has that worked, really? 14 years. That's not exactly geological time. And even they acknowledge the obvious problem. How do you persuade everybody to slow down when everybody is afraid somebody else will secretly keep going. That's the race. Now, this is where I notice something about my own language. I've been saying, if this happens, I'm not particularly comfortable with if anymore. I don't mean every detail of AI 2027 is going to happen. I don't know that. What I mean is that some version of profound AI-driven change is already underway. So I'd rather ask, when the next stage arrives, how informed are you going to be? And no, I'm not telling you to become a prepper. I'm not building a bunker, and a bunker won't help you here. I'm not stockpiling 17 years of canned beans, although maybe that might not be too bad of an idea. When I say prepare, I mean equip yourself with knowledge. Understand what these systems do. Understand what an agent is. Understand why AI researchers are concerned about alignment. Understand why governments care. Think about employment. Think about ownership. Think about your children and grandchildren. What jobs will be available for them? Think about what you would do if the economic assumptions we've lived under begin changing. You don't have to choose my answer. I don't even have my answer. Maybe you become deeply involved in AI. Maybe you build something independent of it. Maybe you organize politically. Maybe you change careers. Maybe you grow tomatoes. I'm not judging anybody's survival strategy. I'm saying don't arrive at the future having never considered the question. And naturally, that led me into another rabbit hole. Has civilization faced something like this before? Not AI, but has humanity ever built systems, technologies, or structures that became more powerful than the societies controlling them could manage? Civilizations have risen, civilizations have collapsed, empires disappeared, libraries burned, technologies were lost, languages vanished, and people rebuilt. So what survived and how? Knowledge, stories, symbols, practices? Very often it was words. Someone wrote something down in some format. That is part of the reason I am building a physical library. I don't think the internet disappears Tuesday. I want independent reference points, books, dictionaries, atlases, history, constitutions, old metaphysical work, science, primary sources, something I can pick up and ask, what did this person actually write? What did this law actually say? What did this map actually show? A book can absolutely be wrong. People were printing nonsense long before computers arrived, but a physical book is fixed. It gives me something against which I can compare whatever an information system tells me today, because they also have the ability to create a whole new reality and abolish history as it's been known. And now I'm going to get metaphysical on you, because there's another part of this I'm fascinated by. AI is extraordinary with language, but take it into spirit, metaphysics, magic, or the unseen, and you can feel something change. It becomes cautious, it qualifies, it wants evidence, it wants measurement, and some of that is appropriate. I don't particularly need a machine confidently inventing demons, but it raises a fascinating question. Human beings have always dealt with things we cannot physically hold: thought, intention, spirit, meaning, love, fear, prayer. We give invisible things a physical form. We light candles, burn incense, lay cards, use herbs, build altars, write prayers, speak spells. We give the invisible skin, and usually that skin is symbolic. Very often, it is a word or a set of words, and that's where I keep coming back. Words are powerful things. In the beginning was the Word. Read that religiously. Read it metaphysically. Read it symbolically. I don't care. Just look at what words actually do. Words create law, contracts, marriages, divorces, religions, wars, peace agreements, identities, stories, cultures. A few words spoken in the right place can alter somebody's entire life. And now we have created machines whose enormous power comes from their relationship with language. They learn patterns in words. They generate words. They write code. They use language to interact with humans and with other systems. So while everyone else is staring at processors and robots, I'm going to keep studying the word. in written material, in books, all kinds of books, in newspapers, in journals, in meeting notes, in speaker's notes. Because if you insist on giving me a label, WordWitch will do just fine. And that is where this series is going next. Florence Scovel Shine, James Allen, the old metaphysical writers, the science of thought movement, people who spent their lives asking, what does thought do? What does belief do? What does the spoken word do? Maybe they got some of it wrong. We undoubtedly have some things wrong now. That's why we read. So don't take my conclusions. Take the questions. Read AI 2027. Read that report. Read the proposal in AI 2040. Read the criticism of both. Ask AI about them. Then challenge the answers it gives you. Find original sources. Build your own library. Learn enough that whatever comes next does not find you completely unprepared or uninformed. Because the most useful preparation may not be fear. It may be learning how to think, learning how to question, learning what's coming ahead, and learning how to use your words. Because maybe there is magic. I'm Mo. This is Ritualistically Botanica, and that's all I've got for you today. Don't be afraid to express yourself. Use your words. Bye now.